Welcome to Realizing Resilience, a podcast from the Connecticut Women's Consortium. We're not behavioral health professionals, but we're your gateway to real conversations with the experts. Each episode, we'll delve into the vast landscape of mental health, from personal stories to expert insights. Together, we'll bridge the gap between clinical expertise and personal experiences, connecting with diverse voices and perspectives. Join us for insightful conversations that demystify the world of mental health.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Alana.
And I'm Marisa.
Thank you for tuning in. Today, we have Hilary Rudenauer. She's a Reiki Master Teacher, certified Postpartum Doula, Lactation Counselor, 500-hour Kripalu Yoga Teacher, and owner of The Mindful Mama. She utilizes her vast personal and professional experience to inform and enrich her classes and trainings. Hilary has a background in holistic healing, maternal health, mental health, and trauma-informed care. She has been practicing Reiki since 2013 and has offered healing sessions in a variety of locations, including wellness centers, yoga studios, retreats, conferences, and hospitals. Thank you for joining us, Hilary. We're really excited you're here.
Thank you for having me.
So first and foremost, can you just explain a little bit about what Reiki is and how the process benefits mental and physical health?
Yeah, absolutely. So Reiki is an energy healing modality. It comes to us from Japan, and the way it was originally intended, it was a practice for not only healing, but also for spiritual development. But in our world today, our modern world, it's most often used as a healing modality specifically for either physical or mental health. And so Reiki has been proven to help with things like pain and anxiety and depression. It is useful for individuals who are struggling with insomnia. Today it's shared in hospitals for individuals undergoing cancer treatment, as well as in hospice facilities and a variety of other places. But essentially the goal of Reiki is to remove any blockages. So similar to acupuncture, when you go to an acupuncture session, they place a needle in a very specific point, and the goal is to remove anything that's getting in the way of energy flowing, right? And so it's a very similar idea in Reiki, except there's no needles, which for some people is wonderful. And so when we think about our energy moving through us in almost like little rivers, right? Similar to a real river, if you have a dam in the river, whatever's on the other side of that dam is getting choked out, right? It's not getting the nourishment and the life-giving properties of the water. And so it's very similar in our bodies that our energy is intimately connected with all the other systems of our body, our, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical layers of health. But we can think of it as like in us, it's around us, it's moving through us all the time. And so if we have the energy is not able to flow and there's a blockage in the way, then whatever's on the receiving end, whether that's, tissues, organs, whatever it might be, is not getting what it needs. And that can lead to imbalances in our overall health. So really the goal of Reiki is to help us come back to a state of balance. And so what you might experience during, a Reiki session or a Reiki experience, for most people, it's a deep state of calm, right? So relaxation, stress relief, feeling like, all of your muscles are able to relax, your body becomes heavy. You might feel warmth or tingling. And then the beautiful thing is that there's what happens during the session. So you might experience that calm and relaxation during, but then there's also this really kind of subtle ripple effect that happens afterwards where people can look back and say, wow, I feel like this last week since my session, I was a little more grounded or a little more even keeled, or wow, my sleep was actually a lot better this week. So there's a variety of ways in which Reiki can really be helpful.
That's so interesting, you comparing it to acupuncture, because that's a physical thing that a lot of people know about. And that's an awesome way to kind of be able to think of something physical that can happen to you, but on the inside, what it's really doing. That's awesome. Even the dam, two very great visuals.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's how I like to share it, because a lot of people are much more familiar with acupuncture than they are with Reiki. And I didn't share this before, but what, the way that Reiki is shared is just through a very gentle laying of hands. So what that means is that instead of having, a needle placed in a specific point, you are having just someone's hands resting gently on you. And it can also be done with hands a couple of inches away from the body to be, more trauma informed, or just, respect whatever it is that someone needs in that moment. And it's not active like a massage. So it's really just a very, non-invasive and very gentle modality.
Nice. Could you kind of explain the process of becoming a Reiki master? Like, what does that look like?
Absolutely. So classes vary in terms of length, but for the most part, especially here in America, to, receive a Reiki master training, you have to go through multiple levels. So you would take a level 1 or a first degree training, and then level 2 or second degree training. And then trainings vary. Some have a level 3 and then a kind of level 4 or a master, and others just go 1, 2, and then master. But ultimately, there are a certain set of techniques that you would be learning, and a certain amount of experiences that you need to go through in terms of kind of bringing your energy to the right place to be able to share this with others. And so that whole process can take anywhere from every teacher varies. Some request that students work for a certain amount of time at each level before proceeding on. So it could be a year, it could be 3 years, but I've been doing this for 10 years now. And I feel like I am learning so much more all the time, where I did my master training probably, 5 to 7 years ago now. But I feel like just in these last 3 years alone, I've kind of come to look at Reiki in an entirely different way. So to me, I think that the true mastery comes from many, many years of practice and application and sitting with the energy and learning to kind of question it and connect with other people and kind of be with the unfolding mystery that is this practice.
I feel like in the last even maybe 3 or 4 years, when kind of wellness discussion has become more socially acceptable, Reiki has become a thing that you hear a lot more about. Do you think that's kind of influenced your practice or made the market too oversaturated? I guess just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that Reiki, I'm so glad that it's gaining momentum. I do think that it still struggles compared to some other practices, such as like yoga, for example, because there's still a certain amount of faith that is required with this practice, right? Like you were saying, Marisa, in terms of like you can actually see the physical needles in acupuncture. We're missing that in this practice, right? It's just me and I am, connecting to this energy and being a channel to create this experience for the next person. So I do think that it creates a bit of a barrier for some people because, like I said, it does require a certain amount of faith. So it's not as widely accepted maybe as some other practices like meditation or yoga. Like you said, Alana, it is still more people know about it, which is a beautiful thing. Like I see a lot more people taking Reiki classes and, getting certified, which I think is a beautiful thing. I don't know, in terms of oversaturation, I don't see that as being an issue, because just as there's as many different styles of Reiki out there. It's not taught in that way, but people do it so differently, and there's so much variation that everyone will kind of be drawn to someone that does it in a way that feels right to them, right? And so I feel like my approach is very much grounded in being trauma informed and working, especially in the area of mental health, where some people are, they're much more interested in things like integrating crystals or mixing it with sound healing or connecting it with other traditions. And so in that way, we can kind of personalize the practice. And then there's a practitioner out there for everybody.
It's almost like thinking about making sure you connect with your therapist or something before you kind of engage in this really intimate work with them. That's a great way to think about it. So when you train, I know you train in a variety of different places with a variety of different people, but generally how are participants in your trainings utilizing Reiki in their professional and personal lives?
So I find it to be so beautiful. It's like one of the greatest gifts of my Reiki journey, this to become a teacher and to be able to watch the paths that everyone, takes after a training. Because like I was just saying, there's so many different places that you can take this and so many different ways that you can go with it. So I think first and foremost, and especially when teaching classes, particularly for mental health professionals, the biggest point that I'm trying to portray is that this is your own oxygen mask, right? Reiki is with you wherever you go. It doesn't require you to have any tools. It doesn't require you to, after you make the initial investment in terms of learning how to do it, then on, it's like you have it for the rest of time, and you don't have to pay anything to keep it up. It's just there. So to me, I think it's one of the most valuable tools that anybody could have, because you can use it wherever you are, whenever you are, really tap into your own innate healing ability, right? Which a lot of us just kind of forget that we have. So first and foremost, it's about like self-care and really trying to prevent burnout and have things in place for yourself that help you to feel energetically clear and, really feel into your own energetic boundaries and care for yourself. I have students who share with me that they are doing this on themselves daily, and that just makes me so happy. And then beyond that, I have a graduate who is a Reiki master now, and she works at a state hospital, and she shares this with her patients every night. And they come and, see her for a little mini Reiki session before they start to wind down for the evening and for bed. And, she has a process for kind of inviting them to rate their experience before and after, so she can record the benefits of the practice. And she's had nights where she's had to turn people away because she's got so much interest, and that to me is just so remarkable. I have other people who have taken this and they've integrated it into the work that they already do, in terms of, it could be private practice, it could be offering support groups for kind of group experiences that involve Reiki in the form of like a meditation or a guided visualization. So people take it and they really I think that they kind of work it naturally into what it is that they already do. And beyond the mental health sphere, I have students who are massage therapists and who are yoga teachers, and they integrate Reiki into that work that they do. And the possibilities are really like limitless, right? So it's really wonderful to see. And I'm always learning so much from them in the ways that they take it out.
Another phrase that you said I'm going to take with me after this is that it's your oxygen mask. That is so like, what? No wonder you're a master. You truly know exactly what to say.
Thank you, Marisa.
Sure. I mean, in being a master in teaching, you are leading a series here at the Connecticut Women's Consortium. You're doing Reiki 1 on October 20th. Can you kind of describe what participants can expect from kind of the level 1 Reiki training with you?
Yeah. So a level 1 class is intended to be really like the foundation, right? So it's about learning all of the foundational information, including the history, the theory, right, the benefits, the techniques. And it's really about making that initial connection for yourself. Anyone participating in that class will have the opportunity to learn how to give a Reiki session to themselves, how to give a Reiki session to someone else. And the idea is that you will leave that class and, use this really for yourself as your own oxygen mask. So we'll talk about that in terms of, how do you utilize Reiki for self-care? And then we'll talk about just a little introduction in terms of, what does this look like when thinking about how you'll integrate this into your work? So we have 2 amazing speakers who their background is in mental health, and they are also Reiki masters. And they will come in and they will talk about, what their experience has been like working both in private practice as well as in, an inpatient hospital setting, and, how they've shared it and how it has benefited them, and kind of answer some of the initial questions, because that's what we see a lot of, is everybody's like, okay, but how? Like, what does this look like? How do we actually do that? Where does it fit in? And how does it work with, billing insurance and all those kinds of questions? So we talk about that, and then we have lots of time for practice. So it's both, educational. We're going to be sitting and learning and talking and discussing. And then we'll also be doing hands-on practice, so everyone can get an opportunity to really feel into this, because Reiki is one of these, beautiful and challenging practices where you can read a million books about it and you can, take an online course, but it really, the only way that you can truly learn it and integrate it into your life is if you practice. And so it'll be a safe place for everybody to kind of, just test things out and try it out. And there's no need to be perfect or do things right or anything like that. It's really just about being in a safe space where you can connect with the energy and start to get to know it. Yeah. And then everyone, leaving the class will receive a certificate. So they will be a level 1 Reiki practitioner, and they'll have the ability to go out and use it for themselves and practice on friends and family. And then, if they want to, they can come back in December for a level 2.
Is there like a regulatory bureau for certifications? I never really thought about that. Who's authorizing the certificates?
Who's in charge here?
Me. Yeah. So Reiki is blessed and cursed in that it does not have a regulatory, body of any kind. So it's been around since the 1920s, and up until this point in the United States anyways, it has been something that it truly still continues in this very kind of old-fashioned way. And I don't say that in a negative way, but in that it's passed down from teacher to student through, what we call a lineage. And so that means that each teacher gets to just kind of share what they've learned and usually put their own, add their own 2 cents to it. But we're also finding that there are places where there's really a push for regulation so that there can be more consistency through the practice. And that might be something that will come down the line eventually for us here in Connecticut, where there will need to be some sort of a process where each school is really making sure that they're checking all the boxes in terms of the type of education that they're providing. But for right now, it's really just about, like you were saying, Alana, it's about like finding a good teacher, right? Finding the person that you resonate with and trusting that they're giving you the most in-depth and comprehensive experience possible.
I love the idea of being passed down, like you said with the word lineage, that it's like family history. This is the story that my grandmother told me, and I'm going to tell you. I think that also integrates with the feeling of Reiki and the whole, not so much suspending disbelief, but willingness to believe. And I think with having that rich history of this is what Reiki masters before you have known really gets you into the thought process of that.
Absolutely. And helps you connect to that like kind of, sacred feeling of it, right? Which is that it's shared, with a lot of respect and high regard for, just like you're saying, everybody that's come before you and all that's been shared and all that's been taught. So
would you like to share a little bit about kind of one thing you hope participants, sort of the most important thing you hope they learn?
I think that, as I've already mentioned, one of the things that's most important to me is that participants walk away with an understanding that this is as much for them as it is for anybody else, right? So I think a lot of people look to Reiki and all that they, the kind of biggest thing that they see is, and beautifully so, right? But like, I can help people with this, right? And that's what I hear so many, particularly mental health professionals, saying in the trainings is like, they're looking for something more. Like they feel like the talk therapy only takes them so far and they want an additional tool, and this is that for them. So I think so much we can get locked into like, this is my practice for helping others. But the most important thing that we can do is not only share with others, but also share it with ourselves. And that's really like the foundation of the first level class. And it's just something important to remember where, even I have students who, they're at the master level now. And I'm like, okay, but when was the last time you did Reiki for you? And they're like, well, it's been a while. And so it's just, especially, and this is true, right, for mental health professionals in general, but when we're working in a helping profession of any kind, it is, incredibly important that we always remember that we need to, refill our own well if we are going to continue to do the work that we do and we want it to be sustainable. Not to be a broken record, but I would say that that's probably what feels like the most important takeaway for me.
Talk therapists, they can't do therapy on themselves. They can't look in the mirror and be like, so how does that make you feel? And so I think Reiki is definitely really unique in that way, that you said it's helping others and also yourself, and you can do this for yourself as well.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. I think that wraps us up for today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to meet with us and to share and have this conversation.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Take care. Links will be in the description to learn more about Hilary and her work, sign up for her training, and keep up with us at the Connecticut Women's Consortium. Thank you for joining us today, and see you next time.
Be kind to yourself. See ya.